The first thing to make sure you can blend in is to make sure you dress inconspicuously. You need to ensure that you dress in a manner that allows you to blend in with the environment as well to blend in with the people around you. You should always avoid wearing attire that may attract attention to yourself or make you look out of place or stand out in the crowd. Make sure you do your homework before you go out on surveillance and study where you will be doing it, what kinds of places your subject may go, and what activities they may be involved in. I recently had a case where the subject lived in a new, hip neighborhood. It was a very nice place with lots of walking and biking trails, close by shopping, and plenty of community amenities within a short distance. I was very glad I did some pre-surveillance recon on the area too, as this brought a lot of attention to those details. You see, the subject for the investigation was a younger female living with her boyfriend, and they had a couple of dogs. After I did my initial site visit, along with a quick OSINT investigation of the subject, I quickly realized that there was a large possibility that she would be highly active outdoors. And then I had to take a long look at myself and decide if I was up to doing all that potential walking and if I would stand out too much with my, let's say, gray and lack of hair. Well, it didn't take me long to decide that I was not the best PI for the job. I needed someone younger, someone more physically fit, and someone who would fit in with the crowd if they had to go on foot surveillance. And the investigator did have to do a lot of foot surveillance, and he even had to go on some bike rides too, and the case turned out exceptionally good for the client. Now, if you want to make sure your PI business is prepared, then check out this video's sponsor. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. That goes into the next step for blending in during covert surveillance, and that is adopting and adapting to activities in their surroundings. A PI has to be able to observe and mimic the typical behavior and activities of individuals in a given location or situation. This will help ensure you can avoid suspicion by everyone around, as it makes you appear like any other person around. You see, in that case I spoke about, I could have gone out on surveillance myself and I would have gotten a lot of video of the subject too, but my video would have been limited to what I could see from my car and the short distances I could walk. I also would have stuck out like a sore thumb. Given my age as well, I have a bit of a limp. So walking around on hiking paths with my gray hair and a limp would most definitely bring attention to me. Sometimes, though, you have to do the work yourself. Sometimes subcontracting the work out is not an option, or maybe you are the one that the work is subcontracted to. In those cases, you need to make sure you have the equipment necessary for you to do the best job that you can given the circumstances. I have this Nikon super zoom camera in my arsenal of surveillance equipment. This is the Nikon P900. It is the predecessor to the newer version, the P1000, which has 125x optical zoom on it and some amazing video stabilization and shoots in 1080p or 4K. This is a must-have for those long, far-away shots I have to get in situations where someone takes off hiking, or they are on a farm or somewhere out in the country or even up in the mountains. Having a super zoom camera like this allows me to stay covert, at least from the standpoint of my subject not seeing me, and allows me to blend in with many scenarios. For instance, if I am up on a ski slope, well, there are tons of people walking around with cameras, taking pictures, taking video, you name it. And I have used this many times, set up on a tripod to get video as my subject skis or snowboards down the slopes or walks out on a hiking trail. And even if they are miles away on a farm, way out in the country, this will help me out a lot. Having the right surveillance tools is necessary to stay covert and allow yourself to blend in. I also use this handheld covert camera when I am on foot surveillance. I actually carry a couple of covert cameras with me. This one is the iPhone 6 case covert camera, and this one is the key fob covert camera, both from Lawmate. Having these allows me to get video in just about any scenario, whether I follow my subject into a grocery store, a department store, the shopping mall, a car dealership, wherever they go. They shoot 1080p high-def video. I can see the video on my cell phone screen if I need, and even play back the video for review later. Besides cameras, though, the number one covert surveillance tool you'll need is your surveillance vehicle. You need to make sure your surveillance vehicle is inconspicuous and fits in with most scenarios. I use a gray or a silver, if you will, soccer mom crossover SUV. It doesn't matter if it's a Ford, a Chrysler, a Subaru, or what make or model, as long as it looks like a normal vehicle out there. For most PIs, they will have one dedicated surveillance vehicle, maybe two if you do a lot of surveillance. I always suggest just taking a close look around as you drive around town where you live and work and watch and take note of what types and colors of vehicles you see. This will give you a good idea of the type and color of vehicle that will work best for you. I usually recommend a neutral color like a gray or a tan or a white or a black, nothing that stands out. You need to make sure your surveillance vehicle does not stand out in any way. This means no bumper stickers, no window stickers, no body damage, and pay attention to your window tinting too. When I started out, I wanted the darkest tint I could get. I didn't go limo tint, but it was close. I wanted to make sure no one could see inside my car. And this presented a lot of problems. First, I had a harder time seeing out, and shooting video out of those dark windows was a problem too. And driving at night was almost impossible without rolling down my windows. But the worst part was it made me stick out like a sore thumb whenever I was on a stakeout. People just notice things that are out of place, and really dark windows are very much not the norm in most places. Most people keep their window tinting limited to what the law allows and what they consider safe to drive with. Another thing you need to consider for your surveillance vehicle is your license plate. No vanity tags, no special tags like military or fireman, or even those pink cancer awareness tags. I have seen many a PI get burned based solely on the license plate that they have on their surveillance vehicle. Everyone takes notice of them. That is why people want them. But as a PI, that is a bad idea for a surveillance vehicle. Your subject may not notice you behind them if you are in a silver soccer mom SUV style vehicle, as there are tons of them all around, all over. But if you have some colorful or memorable license plate, well, they will remember that for sure. I spoke a little bit about blending in with your attire, but I didn't mention keeping a stash of clothing options in your surveillance vehicle for any type of situation that arises. I carry a large tub full of supplies, and I try to keep plenty of clothing options in there. If you end up at a lake or a beach, well, having some flip-flops, a beach towel, and a sun hat might be nice. Or if you go in the mountains like around here, it could be 70s down here and 30s and snowing up in the high country. So I always keep a jacket, a heavier coat, and gloves just in case. I try to have a couple of shirt options too, so if I follow the subject a lot, I can change my appearance up that way. And a few hats as well, sunglasses. Now when you set up stationary surveillance, you need to ensure you stay covert too. You need to pick a location that is a reasonable distance away from the subject's location where you can see everything, get video, and be able to follow when and if they go mobile. The proximity is going to be determined by a lot of factors, such as how many cars are on the road, how much foot activity you anticipate, and other things. If I am doing surveillance in a residential area, I always try to find a spot between two properties to sit at. This way, no one knows who it belongs to, and they assume it is the neighbors. I also try to stay away from the most well-groomed yards. You know, the ones where it is obvious the homeowner is probably out daily working on their yard. And I try to find a spot in the opposite direction of what I think the subject will go. This ensures the subject will not be driving right past me, and I won't have to make a sudden U-turn to follow them when they go mobile. Which brings us to the art of the follow. When your client first leaves, do not, I repeat, do not immediately start your engine. This will bring about attention many ways, as your subject or other people may hear you start your car or see the lights come on when you do that. You should wait until they are rounding a corner or a good distance away where they won't see you. If it is daytime, I always have my headlights turned off so when I start the car, they don't come on. Not all vehicles have this option, but if yours does, it's nice to know how to set that. I also have my interior lights turned off at all times. This helps a lot too, so the interior of your car doesn't light up when you start the car. And when you do start the follow, don't take off like a raving maniac. This is the biggest way many PIs get burned, as they may have someone watching or someone just notices you doing this. The key to successful surveillance is staying covert as much as possible. You can't always do everything perfect in every case. face. And I can guarantee you, in most cases, there will be something that isn't perfect. But making sure that you plan ahead of time, take time to do your homework, and be prepared to adjust as necessary will go a long way. As well, making sure you have the right equipment. And I made this video right here that covers that. So check it out now.